Super. In which case, let's go. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Great to have you all here. Can we start with some introductions? Nick, as I'm confident I can pronounce your name flawlessly.
Yes, it's Tsirimokos. If you want to, or if you're Greek, you can Tsirimokos. So my name's Nick Tsirimokos. I'm Senior Artist Relations Manager and Artist Development at SoundCloud, and I specialize in dance and electronic music. And it's my job to work with emerging artists and bigger artists to help them their careers grow and flourish on SoundCloud and also off SoundCloud. And then beyond that, I'm also a musician myself. I run a little experimental electronic inclusive label. And I also have a monthly radio show that I co-host, which deals with the structural and social issues in the music industry and shedding a bit of a light on those things for underrepresented communities. So thank you for having me.
Mate, superb to have you here. Stefano. Outstanding background.
I love this accent. Stefano. All over the world call me Stefano, but the real name in Italy is Stefano.
Stefano.
Exactly.
Okay. We will see how I do.
No,
like I'm coming to you in a minute.
It's a joke, of course.
But no, so Stefano, could you introduce yourself?
Of course. So thank you guys. I'm Stefano Noferini. I'm a DJ producer from 20, maybe 25 years or more. And I'm a co-founder and founder of Deeperfect, DPA, and Deeperfect Shift Records. And that's it, no?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I see. And okay, thank you for having me. Thank you for having this possibility to chat with you guys. Very interesting. And I'm ready.
Perfect. And then Meike, hopefully I pronounced this correctly.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm Meike Nolte. I'm head of artists and community relations at Beatport. I've been at Beatport for now almost 5.5 years. I actually used to work with Nick together, who also used to be at Beatport. When I used to be a label manager, but now I'm in the artist department, and I work with all artists of all sizes, emerging, established, from all different electronic genres and backgrounds. And yeah, I'm in the music industry since over 20 years, I would say. I used to have my own booking agency. I used to do PR for artists like Mode Selector, Richie Houghton, Ellen Alien, Moderator, just a few to name. Yeah, I used to do PR, label management, all sorts of different kind of things, and also used to work at a streaming service called Tidal for many years in Germany. Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Amazing. I love the range of experiences there. I'm the odd one out. I know nothing about electronic music. I
will change that.
Well, I know, and I will learn from you guys. I cannot wait. My background, so I ran big data at EMI. So I built all their Spotify analytics internally, all their iTunes analytics is how long ago it was. Have run a music conference looking at the future of music. And I'm currently head of international marketing at TicketSwap, who know much more about the electronic space than I do. But we're an ethical ticketing kind of resale company, 20% cap. So if you need to sell your ticket, sell it to another fan, give them the best time. Don't sell it on Viagogo for a fortune, and so on. But enough about me. So technology plays an interesting role in electronic music anyway. It's the talk of bedroom DJs, the talk of kind of anybody can create now, and the tools are there. If we start with creativity itself, what do you think the most powerful technology is for empowering creativity when it comes to actual creation?
I'm not a musician, but so I think Nick can probably answer that well. I would assume that it would be something like Ableton Live, a DAW that's affordable, that's giving people the possibility to create music on their computer.
Yeah, I mean, the most powerful thing. It might be some sort of really crazy piece of gear that you can just play around with, and it enables you to be really physically creative and just not think about the grid and things like that. But we're talking about something accessible to every musician. I mean, you know, Ableton's a thing, right? It's so easy and you can be really creative in there. And it's accessible to, you know, younger artists as well in an easy way.
And Stefano, would you say, how have you seen this change over time?
They change a lot. They change, especially in promotion our music, because our music is dance music, right? Our music, they need of the dance floor, they need of the atmosphere, they need of the really good sound system, different kind of promotion with the people. And then this affect a lot, of course, because I repeat, our music is for a part is good for hearing and onto screen with a domestic sound system, you know. But it's completely different when you hear our track, our production in front of a really huge sound system with all people around you, and you have a different reception of what the music is sent to you.
Amazing. So do you find that technology makes it easier to create?
The music is so easy to create, but music for me is art, and the art, they need the time for create. Like a Deeperfect or like the label that around the world, so they receive a lot of promo, tons of promo every week, because they're very fast, very simple to create a track now. All system that you can use for create a track is very simple. It's like a video game, and then so you can make a track in one day. But as I say to the new producer, to the new guys, to the guys that start now like a producer, and they ask me, what's the right way to start this this job? The culture is very important in our creation. So we have to be part of the music. What I think, what I mean, music, they have a history. When you create a new track, technology help you, right? But you have a culture. You have to put inside the track something that you represent you. Otherwise, the track is all the same, with all the same break, all the same concept, all the same sample. In the last 2 years, I heard something very good, but at the same time, I heard something very flat. Just for release, just for promotion my name on the platform. This is not good for you, for industry, for everything. A lot of music, less quality.
I think that's a superb conversation point to dwell on. I mean, with a couple of platforms here and with some creativity in the room as well, like, is there a problem when anybody can create? And Nick, I might pick on you with this one. Is there a downside to having people like me with limited musical talent, if any? If I look down the back of the sofa, I could probably find more talent than I currently have.
I mean, of course not. You know, music's for everyone to express themselves through. That you don't have to be a technological genius. And, you know, you have to remember, like for platforms like SoundCloud, our audience, sort of our core audience would be like, you know, 15, 16, or maybe even a bit younger to like 24. And, you know, when you're a young artist, you're starting out, you are being inspired by so many different people. And that's how you find yourself as an artist, by copying sounds and trying things and trying to imitate things, and then you slowly take all of those skills and it develops into your own sound. And I think it's really healthy because not everybody's, you know, along their career at the same point, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So there's no downside to people experimenting. Just kind of get involved, see how you get on, and then find your place within it.
Yeah, I mean, music is the language of the universe. Everyone should be able to express themselves through music. There should be no boundaries to that. It doesn't, you know, matter what you're producing.
I think it also, like, it depends on which platforms you look. For example, like the approach that SoundCloud has is very different from what Beatport has. So SoundCloud really is for everyone, you know, it's for sharing, it's community, it's for getting advice. So it's much more open, for example. And I think Beatport is a little bit of a more closed kind of ecosystem. So to be able to release on Beatport, you need to be on a label. That label needs to be, you know, have a supplier. Everything needs to be kind of legit. There's monetization behind of it. So I think like Beatport is more of a B2B almost platform where professional DJs buy music to play out professionally, right? So for us, like a label has like a little bit of a quality seal. So not everybody can release on a label. The music at least needs to be good enough to be released on a label. Obviously, you can create your own label, but that also needs to be run at least semi-professionally. So I see like that the music that we have on our store is a bit, I wouldn't, like, that sounds mean. It wouldn't be higher quality, but it's a bit more, you know, it's mastered, it's for sale, you know? So it's like, it has an economic background behind it, or like why you sell it. But I mean, I would definitely agree with Stefano. You know, it's like there's a lot of music out there on Beatport. We have 25,000 tracks delivered to the platform weekly. I don't even want to know how much music SoundCloud gets per week. It must be way more because you also have more genres than us. So it is difficult, you know, to find your place and your sound in there. So it needs to be special, the music. Like, it needs to be either on a big label, or you need to be an established artist to you know, find a spot there, or you need to be really authentic. So there needs to be something unique to your sound. I think that's quite important.
That's totally true. And I think like on SoundCloud, we're not really, you know, we have the professional music. We obviously have like, you know, label deals as well, but we're not, like, what I think is really cool about it is we don't prioritize anyone. Everybody exists with each other together. So for a listener, you can just get such a range of content, you know, the amazing, the bad, the crazy, but you get stuff that generally is stuff that you're into, you know, and I think, you know, that's what makes it its own kind of, you know, beast.
Totally. And it's super exciting because, I mean, a lot of, you know, artists have started on SoundCloud just because they had a unique sound, you know, music wasn't probably even mastered, but got great feedback. And because the platform is so big, they got such a drive basically. And that's super exciting to see, you know, it's, yeah, it's definitely important.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of community behind an artist, obviously the artist then looks to, if I take an artist who started on SoundCloud, looks to then develop their career, there are a few ways they can do that. I mean, Stefano, do you want to talk about the label model first? And then Nick, maybe we'll come back to what SoundCloud have done. I'll talk about Chance or the more recent changes as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Stefano.
Yes.
Oh,
sorry, I lose you for a minute. Sorry.
No trouble. You did not miss much. But would you say, how would you describe the kind of deals you can do now for artists? So you see someone amazing, let's say they're on SoundCloud. How can you help? And what do you bring to them?
I think so. You mean a new artist, of course.
Yeah. Yes.
We have different way to help artists now, because for the new artists, for the new generation, especially in the last 10 years, not now, the technology help a lot. Also helps a lot platform like Beatport, SoundCloud, many other platforms that help to promote EU music, of course. But I think so. I suggest for the all younger generation DJ, that's producer also, they concentrate more on idea. So and search something to really unique in the music, of course, because of the final goal in the music and the art, to create something unique, something that's yours, of course. And so with a new technology, also with a new collaboration. So that now different between 20 years ago. I remember so when Deeperfect being digital, it was totally digital, because Deeperfect before it was a vinyl label. So then we started exactly with the Beatport 2004 and being a digital label completely.
Oops, did we lose Stefano?
I'm almost glad we lost him. I thought it was me, and because I lost all of you at the same time, it all just froze. Like, this can be
No,
interesting.
we're still here.
The downside of being on a roof in Florence.
Yeah.
I bet you used to have the best time. It looks so good.
I like the fluffy cloud in the background.
It's perfect. If we hadn't seen him show us the actual background, you wouldn't believe it was real. Okay, well, let's nudge on then. So, Nick, do you want to talk about what you do with artists just from that word go, and how you can bring them through kind of in your own ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So, I think the one question that I get from artists weekly is, I'm uploading my music to SoundCloud and it's not doing anything and I don't understand. And, I think the thing that we tell people is, you can't treat SoundCloud the same way that you treat all the other platforms. It's not the same kind of ecosystem. And SoundCloud is very community-based. And the people that succeed on SoundCloud are the ones that can master this, because our algorithms are based on social interactions. So if you upload your music and then you go, done, where are the plays? Like, they're not going to come. But if you can really master being social, building a community, then this is how you grow. And so many artists have done this really, really quickly, and electronic music artists like Peggy Goo, So, I think you have to treat it differently. And many people don't even know that they can monetize their own music on SoundCloud. And there's so many artists on there that I could tell you now that you've never heard of, that have a few 100,000 followers and are making enough to pay their rent and live off. And it makes me so happy, but it does require a different approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the slightly forced curation of other services, sometimes like the ability to take something and surface it to a large number of people quickly, but then also discard it quickly if it wasn't working to whichever definition you choose, is a really interesting, different way that SoundCloud plays the game.
I think it just puts the power back in the artist's hands, because if you do the work and you have good music and you really work it, you can achieve a lot more than you would think you can.
Okay, interesting. And then how does it work on Beatport? Because obviously different model, B2B. So once you're at a level, but presumably there is some control, some recommendations, some things you do to help people stand out.
Sure. So as I said, we've got like tons of music that's released on like through professional suppliers and distributors. We have weekly curation system set up where we highlight the music that we think is going to do well or that we actually like on the store on a weekly basis. So we work very closely with the labels and the suppliers to see what their kind of priorities are, and then give highlight these releases on the store. And what's quite important is also here is that, the artists and the labels, that they also have like a fan base that they utilize. So for example, that, the label does promo, or the artist of the actual release up front, so that DJs have it, that it gets played out, because obviously that's important, you know, like that the DJs actually play out the music in clubs. I mean, obviously not right now so much, but back in the day, that's usually how it was done, that you promote your music to other artists that then play them out. And we work very well with DJ charts, so that artists create charts or playlists on the platform that we also then feature on the store, and that drives a lot of sales actually as well, because people come to the store, they go to the charts, they want to see. I mean, one they go in sales charts and see what's charting, to either buy or to actually stay away from, depending on what artist you are. But then a lot of people actually do buy through artist charts, because they have artists that they follow, that they really like or admire, and they want to see what's in their crate, basically. What are those people playing out? So this is a really good way to basically push your music. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is more work nowadays, I think, than before, but also the artist does have the ability to basically create a little bit of their own hype. You know, you need to be active on social media, you need to be active on Instagram, on all of the different kind of platforms. There's different ways on how you can promote your music, but yeah, you need to be active. If you just sit around and don't do anything, that's going to be tough, unless you like really on a big label that basically does a lot of the work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those days of putting a record out, I mean, what a concept. You put it out, you hope something comes back. Like,
it used to work that way. I still remember those times, and you had a hit and it sold like sliced bread, we would say in Germany. Yeah, right now I think like with the amounts and also all of the competition that's out there, you know, not just with music, but also like all the other time-consuming things right now, it's definitely a little bit harder, but people can play the game and they play it well and it works for them.
Perfect. One of the questions we wanted to ask about was kind of creativity during COVID. And I wondered, have you guys seen any changes in behavior on your platforms, either more music arriving or new users experimenting more, kind of people just getting a bit more stuck in?
Yeah, it was actually quite interesting. I mean, as I said, Beatport is more or less like a B2B platform for professional DJs. So when the pandemic hit, we were really scared to see what's going to happen, because we were quite sure who's going to buy the music, because nobody can play out. So there's actually no need for downloads right now. That's what we thought. And we could see when the pandemic first hit that sales were declining really in the areas where the lockdown started to happen. But then it took about 2 to 3, 4 weeks, and sales really picked up and actually surpassed what we had sold before. So we didn't really expect that. And yeah, we definitely saw that a lot of artists went straight into live streaming. So they needed a lot of music. We've seen that artists have changed their sound, because they're now all of a sudden they were kind of like, I want to make an ambient track or an ambient album, even just because my music doesn't have to be played right now on the dance floor. This is really cool. We've seen that a lot of people have got into the studio because they're not touring as heavily anymore. At the beginning, also, like, we talked a lot with the labels and the suppliers, and they were worried about, you know, all of the club bangers that they were going to put out, if they should hold back. And we've advised everybody, just keep your normal schedule. We're selling, people are buying. We don't know how long this is going to last, so there's really no uptake on basically keeping that music behind, you know. So, and I do say that a lot of people have gotten creative, you know. People have really embraced the live streaming, radio shows, podcasts, Twitch. I think Twitch has seen like the biggest uptake last year. I've seen a lot of people putting out master classes. So they had all this time to basically produce these master classes. People have been setting up Patreon channels, you know, loop clouds, sample packs, plugins. I think all of that has been growing in the past year. So I think it's actually quite exciting. NFTs, we've just dropped our first NFT today. So I think that is something, yeah, that probably wouldn't have been this interesting in a different kind of time. So yeah. It's been good.
I think it's interesting when you take that kind of schedule away from an artist. What do you then do?
Yeah.
Interesting that people are innovating.
Well,
Some people took time out, you know, and said like, I'm actually going to look after myself, mental health, you know, this is a time where I can actually be with my family, you know, take that route. And other people have been super, super creative. And yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we had like a surge of like a 50% increase in uploads at the start of the pandemic, and then which was like is really a lot, right? And then similar to what Meike said, like we also had a large surge in ambient music uploads. It increased quite steeply. But you know, it's funny. We also saw the emergence of some scenes that are once again skew younger, but I found it very interesting because we had some scenes that have flourished in the pandemic because they're younger artists, they're completely digitally native, they don't know each other in real lives, they make collectives on SoundCloud and on Discord, and their growth and money has surged because they've used this situation to basically stay home and group together and create communities online. And whilst that doesn't work for everyone, right, I think it's a nice story to come out of the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in isolation, but you can find a community.
Yeah, that's super important.
Great place to live. And Nick, are you seeing these communities? Do you think they're going to remain successful after the pandemic? Do you think they've got an audience for a while now?
Absolutely, because you know it's this new era, and I don't want to keep saying younger people because younger people are not the only ones that are technologically savvy, right? But I feel like because they've grown up, like just embedded in technology, they're fearless with it. They're absolutely fearless by you know, they don't care. They don't have to go through the proper channels. They don't need a label. They don't need a manager. They just have their friends. They have this huge collective. They all do this on their 20 different screens. They're uploading one song a week and they're making money and they're getting lots of listens, not only on our platform, but now across all the platforms. And I think it's really impressive. I wish I had that amount of guts when I was that age, you know?
Well, yeah, and I think the cost of doing something wrong is reduced. Immensely
so.
And I'm jealous of it as well, being a little bit older. But like the freedom to just go, I'm going to try. I've managed to not swear all day, so I'm going to try. It's not stuff it. I'm going to try to do something new, different, exciting. And yeah, I'll work with you and I'll work with you and we'll just see what we do. It's amazing. Absolutely. I mean, the cost of doing that 20 years ago, if Stefano were here, I'm sure he could tell us that it was not cheap to be investing in artists, developing, putting them in the studio. Marketing was costing more and more. And then if you're early into digital, the upside's there, but the cost is huge. The risk is significant. Whereas now, get together, try something, and then not to talk about SoundCloud too much in too glowing terms, although I'm a big fan. You've got to test it. You can test it. You can play it to some people who should like it. And if they don't like it, you really know it's wrong, rather than playing it to 3 of your mates down the pub. And if they love it or they've got engagement with it, you can build on it. But, you know, that's why, and I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but that's why, you know, one of the biggest things we did during the pandemic was to launch fan-powered royalties, which, you know, some people in the industry know as the user-centric model. You know, I think a lot of people, or a lot of artists that I spoke to were shocked to work out how streaming works and that the money I pay doesn't necessarily go directly to the people that I listen to. And they're like, wait, what? And, you know, so with a model that we've introduced now for independent artists, it's actually quite a big step in bringing this relationship between the fan and the artist closer together. So, you know, my money from subscription or my money from ads only goes to those people that I listen to, which means the, you know, superstars' money goes down and the independent artists or the people making things like techno, house, drum and bass, that goes up and quite significantly. And I'm proud that we did that because I think it's a big step in the right direction to the world we're all hoping to live in the music industry, you know? Yeah, well, and there's a sustainability element to that, to making sure the right artists get the right money, but also for that community and that fan engagement, I'm lending comments, I'm lending conversation, but my money now goes where I listen.
Yeah, so the people that, gives artists more of an incentive to engage with their fans. And I think we're in this new era where an artist doesn't sit in an ivory tower anymore. And the people that are succeeding are the ones that are like breaking down those barriers and like being able to have a really honest back and forth communication with their fans. And those are the artists that are flourishing in all genres and at all different ages. And I think there's something nice in that.
Definitely. And in terms of the genre, sorry, just staying on for 1 minute. In terms of genre uplift, who's benefited most from the change in model? So we're saying
genre up. So it's really like emerging artists. I think it's kind of genre agnostic, right? Obviously, you would think that the people making the most money are making pop or hip hop, right? So their revenues come down a little bit. So I'm assuming that people that make dub techno are not going to be like the biggest industry money makers, right? Out of everyone. So I think it really benefits those people making strange music or niche genres or stuff that's not going to soar up the charts. And for them, it's been historically difficult to get money to generate all these kinds of things. And so I think that's important because we don't just want this surface level, not surface level is not a great way to say that, but like the top level music, right? We want all of the goodness that these communities bring. And I think we need to enable them to thrive.
Yeah, well, I think strange music should be aspired to. Like,
Absolutely.
Forget
even in pop music, I think there are elements of this.
Hugely, I forget who said it, but someone was saying, like, back in the day, an artist would want to sound nothing like other artists, and now it's like I sound a bit like Drake. I'm like, great, but we've got Drake. Who are you?
I mean, I have this conversation every day. Yeah.
And I wonder if I'm sorry, we had a panel on recommendation engines earlier, whether it's too easy to find the things that sound alike and recommend them rather than actually pushing the envelope into strange, unusual, challenging music.
I had this conversation the other day too, and I think it needs to be balanced, to be honest, because I think sometimes we can get a little too passive with that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes it's really great to say, hey, like, look at what you're listening to. And, we were having this conversation in terms of diversity and representation. And I think looking at the stuff that you're receiving and then taking and listening to and just examining it and saying, hey, like, maybe I could listen to more music from this type of community or whatever, or this type of genre, and to also not be receiving, but also be searching. I think it's a two-way relationship.
Definitely. So Stefano, Meike, have you seen any interesting trends kind of genre-wise in the last few months? Have you seen different music standing out and different kind of approaches to creativity?
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yes. I don't know if my technical problem is solved.
We can hear you okay.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, I see that change something in the last years, in the last year and a half, of course. And the approach with the music, the approach of the artist in general with the music is quite different, no?
Mm-hmm.
So the people, they have a concept to create music now for a different style, like we talked about before, so the dance floor or not dance floor. So now the creativity is more for the people try to create something with more melody or more vocals to fruitable for an audience that hear music also in radio. Sometimes people create the music just for especially wave, no? Of course, the reason is that so the audience is changed, of course, absolutely. And I don't know what happened when this fucking period is close, finish. That so the people, I mean, that's will be the same or not, or something so will be different. I am not sure about the future.
I'm also not sure about the future. There's a lot of unknowns, because I wonder, you could see everybody not want to go out. Although I'm pleased to say the data we're seeing from the UK suggests, let me out. I want to go out. There's only a very small share of people who want to go to fewer events than before. But I wonder in the music creation, I'm sure, Michael, whether you would see it on the Beatport side, in the music that people are engaging with, but whether there's going to be a shift towards just ridiculously upbeat music, that everyone is just going to be the happiest they've been in a long time, or whether we build slowly back to that place.
Well, Beatport is its own kind of like animal, right? I think techno is probably still, I mean, by far the strongest genre, like it has always been. So I don't think we see such a big uptake in weirder kind of genres. I think what has been in the past 2 years being really, really strong is drum and bass. So, which I can say probably for me, that's happy music. I mean, it's fast, it's uplifting, it's energetic, you know, and it's also like come together a little bit with like the more EDM-ish kind of sounds as well. So, but it's what's also interesting is that it's quite, you know, festival music as well, right? So, but people are buying it. It's doing really, really well. It's exciting to see. We've actually had a few number ones in the past year or so that were drum and bass. So that actually was a first for the store. And you know, it's how old is Beatport? 16 or 17 years old. So yeah, so that's quite exciting. So
That's
I mean,
really
music would, pardon?
That's really interesting, because your buyers presumably have not changed. The people buying haven't changed, not massively, and therefore their tastes
not
are
massively, but I mean, we're growing, so that's exciting in itself. Just because downloads, you know, are industry wide on a heavy decline. So to grow in such a market is quite astonishing. And we do also see new subscribers, but those are mainly because of our streaming service that we have launched for DJs, which is quite exciting. So I think for Beatport Link, for the streaming side, the pandemic has actually worked for us, you know, because people are at home, they can practice, they can take the time, they can start DJing, you know. It's exciting because you don't have to build, you know, a library from scratch and spend thousands of euros on getting a catalog to even start DJing, you know. All of a sudden you've got all the music you could want at your fingertips. You can stream instantly. The technology is quite cheap nowadays, you know. You don't have to heavily invest in getting the perfect setup with CDJs or Technics turntables. You know, you can buy a cheap controller from a lot of different brands. So I think that's quite exciting as well. So that has definitely been growing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe that democratization of access, so that anyone can be, I'm sorry, I can't be a DJ, but in principle, anyone could be a DJ.
You actually could. You actually could. I mean, we've been making it so easy now. It's like also like, yeah, like, you know, you don't need to be scared to get started nowadays, because you don't have to invest the money. It's super simple. It's super fun, you know, and it's definitely exciting. Yeah.
Perfect. I promise not to inflict it on any of you at any time, but quietly I might try on my own. Looking forward then, looking at technology moving ahead, with NFTs, got a mention earlier, including NFTs, but not limiting it to that. What interesting tech do we see coming down the line? Because things like live streams have come such a long way in the last short while. What else is going on that would be interesting to see?
I mean,
go ahead, Meike.
yeah, okay. I mean, I'll just continue a little bit on that streaming side, like with the integrations that we have. So, I mean, we started because that's definitely technology, like pushing forward quite hard. You know, like we've always had technology jumps in the past years, obviously, but it took a long time for these to really cross over. So like, you know, when everybody used to play with vinyl, they didn't want to have a download, and they didn't want to stream. And now we're actually bringing professional DJing into, or streaming into the professional DJ booth, and much quicker than you would think. And it's, of course, and it's, again, it's not like the established DJs that are using this, but it's the up and coming generation, you know, that has grown up with SoundCloud. They've grown up with Spotify. They don't want to own a download. You know, they don't even know what a download is. They just want to access the music and want to go with it, you know? So for them, it's actually really cool. And we've got integrations with Pioneer. We've got an integration with Denon, which is super exciting. You literally need to just log into the hardware, which has a Wi-Fi capability, and you can access 9 million tracks off the bat, you know? So that's super cool. We have an integration with Serato. We're now launching one with Tractor. So I think on the technology side, that's really interesting. Then I think it's what we're going to be also hoping to implement at some point is more like a data-driven kind of aspect, like dashboards for artists and labels. I think we're a little bit slow behind on that. So that is also going to be super interesting, you know, going down the road. Also like having all of like these different interfaces connect, you know, like being able to log into your Beatport account and then being able to basically submit a track list to the PROs. I think this is something that's really exciting on a business level, you know, because that's going to be driving income for artists and labels. That's super important because, I mean, that money usually just gets lost also in the big pots of the major labels. So this is something that I would like to see like being implemented soonish. Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped the bit of my bio where I was a senior economist at PRS for 3.5 years. But I can attest that dance music royalties were never the easiest of things.
Yeah, it's quite complicated, unfortunately.
It's 100%. I think that's a great one to fix, and given the nightmares I used to have, thank you for fixing it. Much appreciated.
Hopefully soon.
Perfect. Stefano, Nick, what technology are you seeing that's exciting you at the moment?
So, Nick.
Go ahead, Stefano.
Yeah.
You were cut off for a while. I should let you talk.
So many things are changed, and we adapt to this historical moment, I think. Just think so of the amount of streaming, the technical course, forums, blah, 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 that we have in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Now I think that which until now we are quite relative, now have become the only way to bring our music to people. Probably this will not the right way, but in addition to physical event, we will continue to take advantage of those. For me, it's a positive thing to bring an event a large audience. Probably this thing has radical change a way of thinking. I mean, the streaming will not abandon us, because the streaming will be part of the new.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then so many festival or many big party, they will also the streaming part. So, and the big audience so will be.
Yeah, nice. So that having that streaming audience at home, the people who can't get to that geography but love that music.
Absolutely. The big festival, some big festival, also big club, especially in Ibiza, they adapted the club for camera and for streaming and for equipment for the streaming.
Yeah, amazing. I could do a night in Ibiza without leaving the house. This is superb. I still get to sleep with a comfy bed close to home. It'd be great. Nick, for you, what are you seeing coming down the line? It looks interesting.
Well, I mean, you know, from a personal music production perspective, I've been playing around a lot with AI production tools, and oh my gosh, like they're so cool. And there's so many artists bringing out albums that are using elements of this, which I think are really exciting. But in terms of, if we look at like the pandemic and we're talking about technology, I truly think right this moment, have like all the tools that we need in order to be able to thrive as a community right this very second. And, you know, whilst, you know, NFTs are interesting, and we're definitely exploring different consumer models and ways of monetization between, and leveraging that kind of relationship between fans and artists, I think there are a number of different areas that we can look into in the future. Obviously, live experiences, tipping situations, exclusive content, all of these like simple things can be taken in very interesting directions, and we're thinking about them all.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the tipping culture in a gaming context, and it's worked well for years, and music's never really facilitated it.
Absolutely. Well, that's actually why when the pandemic hit, the first thing we could, or the fastest thing we could do was to add that tipping support button, because we're like, what can we do fast to like help? And it's worked really well so far.
Perfect. And speaking of the pandemic and of community and what happens coming out, Nick, can you talk a little more about the community side you're doing with underrepresented populations? Because I'll give a premise that I'm more aware because I've had more time. I wasn't particularly aware beforehand of challenges other people faced. And I'm starting on a journey now because I had to read, because I had time. And I wondered maybe if you could just speak a bit more to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's an industry, well, it's a global thing, right? And particularly in electronic music because of the roots of electronic music. But also, like from a SoundCloud perspective, there are so many underrepresented communities who find their tribes on SoundCloud and flourish as artists because they find people who have similar ways of thinking and who are like them, right? And I think, so what I try to focus on there is how we can look at the music industry and the structures that we're all a part of, and how we can just start to question things a little bit so that people feel more included and safe, but also so that, everybody's, so that companies are more diverse in a way from the top down, so that, people's ideas and lived experiences filter down through the entire company. And that's kind of how change happens, So that's kind of what I was talking about there.
Superb. I feel like the closer we get to things reopening, the closer we get to a bit of sunshine outside, a roadmap coming back for the UK, some opportunities opening up, the more optimistic I become about a slightly better normal than maybe we had before. I think it's going to be good to see. And we've had one question from the audience. I'll take us back in a slightly different direction for a second. And do you see the roles of the performer, DJ and producer kind of melding, as distinct entities? Do you see them merging into one? So the producer and the DJ becoming one through technology? You can just say no. I
mean, I think in many ways, DJs kind of are producers as well. Like, have you seen some DJs play? Like the way they meld different things together, like 4 things together at one time, But no, not specifically. I think the pandemic's given DJs, that people that just DJ, a chance. I've seen many DJs that I work with from big collectives and that you would know trying out like production, or tell me that they're trying out production, So I think, not specifically, but I think the pandemic's given everybody time to get their creative juices flowing, Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think this moment for us, like Nick said before, we have time, and also the artists, they have time. They have time for to be much more lively, to connect with the different arts, to have more creativity, to have more time to found something new, something different. So, like for example, for me, very interesting this project on NFT, where the art and the music found together, and this is very new. Probably the real good things of the moment. For me, very fascinated this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's always a good thing in the crises, right? Like people become a little bit more creative and they take also more risks, it seems, and try new things, because right now it doesn't matter if they fail, with something. I think like the perception definitely has changed. So there's going to be different kind of models, revenue models opening, and things are emerging. But in general, I think like for Beatport, obviously it's very, very producer focused, so yeah, I've seen basically right now people need to produce basically to make it as a DJ. I mean, that has changed in the last, but that has been a long shift already, from like the past 20 years. I think that's become more important.
Perfect. Thank you. And do we think NFTs live beyond the pandemic? Do we think there's a market for it 9 months from now, 18 months from now?
That is a very interesting question. I mean, I've just worked on this NFT for the first time for the past month, and it was definitely very interesting and very, very challenging. Lots of things that you didn't think about that you had to think about. There's a lot of challenges with it. There's also like the aspect with the resources basically that you invest in it. So for me, I have to admit, it's hard to say. I think it's definitely interesting model because it does bring together the arts, I think it's gonna probably change like down the road. It's probably definitely going to be different from what it is right now. And also there you already see like this creativity, what is an NFT? What can I sell as an NFT? Is it a video? How long is the video? Does it come with music? Umek has now, like sold a DJ gig, as an NFT. Don Diablo has sold basically a documentary as an NFT. So I think even there it's exciting to see like all of the different possibilities and how people basically utilize it to get creative. I hope it doesn't stay as a sole investor market, where the art is just like one, like a vehicle basically for something else. So but I think it's great for artists to make money off of it, so but it's for me it's really hard to say where this is going, to be honest.
Perfect. I think you've covered it all. I'm just going to recap quickly what an NFT is in case anyone's not familiar. Sorry. So NFT, non-fungible token, basically is like a Bitcoin, but unlike Bitcoin that can be changed for other Bitcoins and they're all the same, the NFT is a unique entity and therefore it lives on blockchain. It's tracked everywhere it goes. The ownership is very clear, but as it is unique, it is scarce. It therefore has a different value to other things on the blockchain, but by being on blockchain, it's always where you left it and can't be nicked by anyone unless you read certain case studies, but there we go. So that's what NFTs are, just in a nutshell, in case I should have said that just before. Meike absolutely nailed the answer. My bad. It's the end of the day on a Friday. We've got about, are there any audience questions we're aware of, Claudio? I don't think I've had any come through. No, all good, cool. So have you got any advice for artists or people who want to make money in the music industry when it comes to creativity itself? We've talked about tech a lot. I think if Stefano were here, he would be saying, making noise is not enough. Have some culture, bring something more to it than just putting the right things in the right places.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I would say, well, first of all, before the money-making part, I would say, do know, like, take care of your mental health. It's a stressful time right now. There are so many resources for musicians online. We have a bunch on SoundCloud, and that can be really like a really stressful part to overcome first. But if you want to make money and grow your audience right now, listen to your own sound. Don't try to copy anybody. Stay true to how you feel inside. Make something that makes you feel alive. know that getting a label is amazing, but it's not for everyone, right? But for some people it is. So just know that you can go down many different paths. And if the path is that you want to sit in your bedroom and make music and make money off it yourself, then, you can do that. And, you can do it on SoundCloud. You can do it many places, but SoundCloud's a great place to start. And, just start chatting to people. Don't hold back. And you have to get involved. Nothing is going to happen if you sit back. So be fearless, I would say. Now is the time.
Totally. Yeah, I would just add, be open-minded, take risks, be creative, and I mean, music is such an emotional part of all of our lives. So that's important, that you maintain that connection. It's not just only about making music. It's supposed to, make you smile or make you cry, like have an actual emotional impact on people's lives. And I think that's important. And yeah, take risks, ask for help. I think that is like always the advice that I like to give is like, people are happy to help, and just don't be scared, reach out, grow a community, find like-minded people. I think that's super important. And yeah, I think like the last word that Nick said was great. Be fearless, for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been excellent to talk. I learned plenty. I'm sure other people did too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you.